Support WrestleTalk!
Tell a friend. What is going on with Rey Mysterio, John Cena and The Undertaker? I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen, welcome to WrestleRamble. Luke, that is an excellent WrestleTalk magazine issue 3, but now is not the time to read it. But viewers, you can get that by clicking the link in the video description below. Yes, interesting. So, Luke, what's going on with this?
Well, this has
been a crazy few days.
It's been a bizarre one, hasn't it? Because, since late last year, the word has been, as per Dave Meltzer, the plan for John Cena is the Phenom, the Undertaker, and they're going to finally collide, at least at WrestleMania. You know, they've had matches in the past, but this will be like...
Never really a big storied one, though.
No, exactly, yeah. They feel
weird
like it's like an icon of the 90s versus an icon of the 2000s. They're going to collide. It's Rock Hogan, it's Rock Cena, but it's Undertaker Cena, and they're going to collide at WrestleMania 34. The Undertaker coming out of retirement, seemingly. But nothing really was set up at Raw 25, nothing was set up at the Royal Rumble, and nothing has been set up at the Elimination Chamber. But... and John Cena essentially called out The Undertaker on Raw this week. So we all said, because there were times during January where I was like, I don't think this match is happening.
Yeah.
I don't see it going ahead.
You went cold on it.
I did go cold, and I was like,
even though Big Daddy Dave Meltzer,
Big D,
said this was the plan.
He was,
and you love Dave Meltzer more than anyone. Well, I would say.
I mean, as far as I can tell, going by what people think of me, he's the only name that I recognise and like. So,
yeah.
So I just thought the match wasn't happening, but after the promo on Monday, that was it. I was like, right, cool, that match is happening then, because they basically said it's happening through John Cena saying, I'm challenging The Undertaker, because if it's not happening now, that promo was very silly.
I love the thing that's really given this away, that's confirmed it, is WWE explicitly saying this isn't going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's happening then.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good.
100%.
So this was a match. Gun. Yeah, this was a match that was booked for last year, for Undertaker's probably final match, but it was only in the weeks leading up to the Royal Rumble, the week of the Royal Rumble, that people started to report this weird intergender tag match that wouldn't take place in a million years when the other option is Undertaker versus Cena. People started saying, oh no, it's going to be that. I can't remember who it was, but a former writer for WWE just tweeted out, he wasn't really known for a source, but he said, everyone who's saying it's going to be Cena versus The Undertaker, get a load of what happens when you hear their real plans, or the plans that it now is.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, they're definitely doing Cena Undertaker. And then a few days went by, and then this weird rumor of John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice started coming out. And I was like, come up with some good fake news. This is like it's come from Kayfabe News or the Onion. But then Dave Meltzer started to report it and saying it's true, and that The Undertaker is going to be moved into the Roman Reigns match because he wants to put over the young guy on the way out,
the new big dog.
And that's what happened. And now here we are again, and with the plan really seeming to be Cena versus Undertaker, but now Sports Illustrated, Justin Barrasso in particular, and he is really a lone voice here. Everyone else is either not denying it, but refuting it. So WrestleVotes, who are very reliable, and Wrestling Observer are both saying, no, the plan is still Undertaker versus John Cena. It's Undertaker's going to come back the SmackDown after Fastlane, and that's when they're going to start the WrestleMania build. The reason they said that the Undertaker match can't happen is to throw people off the scent that it could, because otherwise that somewhat spoils John Cena's Fastlane match, because people will get the result before it actually happens. So yeah, but then Justin Barrasso is now saying that it's Rey Mysterio versus John Cena.
Yeah, not only that, he said that Rey Mysterio was backstage at SmackDown and was in final negotiations for a WrestleMania match, and that rumoured opponent will be John Cena. So yeah, the lone voice in all this is saying that no, it's not Cena versus Undertaker, it's in fact going to be Cena Mysterio at WrestleMania instead, and presumably that means that there is nothing for The Undertaker if we are going by what Barrasso said. But you are, as you said then, WrestleVotes have said no. And Dave Meltzer wrote in The Observer today that Cena versus Undertaker is still the Mania plan, or at least was at the time Cena did the interview, and we've heard nothing different. He said, as for Rey Mysterio Jr., he has no deal with WWE at the moment. He does have a meeting scheduled with Paul Levesque to discuss a deal very soon.
Who's Paul Levesque, mate?
That's Hunter.
Right, Triple H.
Yeah, so the word,
Sure.
I believe what it is that he's Triple H when he's doing wrestling stuff, but when he's doing business stuff, he's Paul Levesque.
Business.
When he's doing business,
Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon.
That's 100% it. So I think even when he does the NXT conference calls before takeover shows, he gets introduced as Paul Triple H Levesque.
Right.
Because that's when he's business.
Yes.
So Paul Levesque to discuss a deal very soon, and it's basically dependent upon Levesque clearing his schedule and a setup when this will take place. So, according to Big Daddy Melts, Ray's not even been in talks with WWE, which actually is another rumour that Ray has been having dealings with WWE and they're going to set up something for very soon. But he's saying that they haven't even started talks yet.
Well, no, I think they've been talking ever since the Royal Rumble, is what I've read from PW Insider Pro Wrestling Sheet. And
that's why I said, according to Big Daddy Melts.
Oh, but Big Daddy Melts has also said this.
Has he really?
Yeah, but it's just this Triple H meeting.
Right,
okay.
okay.
Sorry. Paul Levesque meeting.
Yeah.
That's the thing that hasn't happened yet, which is
Got ya.
sort of like the final stages of the negotiations.
Yeah.
But of course, Rey Mysterio has the New Japan date, Strong Style Evolved. I think it's March 24th, so about a week or 2 weeks before WrestleMania. That's going to have to that would rule Mysterio out from a lot of New Japan stuff. He makes a lot of money on the independent circuit. He is one of the. He might actually be the highest paid guy for independent wrestling shows. So whether he would want to give that up is another thing. And he's got a lot more freedom. He can choose his schedule, how he wrestles. But a match against Cena at WrestleMania is kind of a draw. It's just, Sports Illustrated and Justin Barrasso in particular, they obviously have sources because they report these things and then they happen. But they'll report something and then they'll add loads of extra bits. And that seems to be either the speculation or embellishments of this core fact. And for me, the Rey Mysterio negotiations are obviously happening. Negotiations are obviously happening. Well done, Sports Illustrated, for clocking that on, because PW Insider and Pro Wrestling Sheet afterwards said, yeah, we've confirmed those. He wasn't backstage at SmackDown, that's been refuted, but that is happening. But this whole Cena rumour is being denied by everyone. So it's an odd thing. And he never gives any. It's just such a flippant sentence in the report of because the Undertaker match isn't happening now. And well, why? But the Undertaker was in training the other week. There was that an Instagram shot of him doing some very heavy deadlifts. A lot of people, no, not deadlifts, squats. A lot of people said, it's not that heavy. It's heavy to me.
I was going to say, it's heavy to me, mate. I can barely...
The bar's bending.
I was going to say, mate, I can barely lift up my beans when I'm going to cook them. But maybe it could be. I mean, I'm now heading into the wild speculation zone. I'm now in speculation station. Maybe Undertaker was in training and then he just said to Vince, do you know what, I can't do it.
Yeah.
This training really hurt. I could barely walk the next day. I don't even know if I could do a whole match. And if I could do a whole match, it wouldn't be up to my usual standards because, Taker hasn't had the best track record of Mania matches in the recent years.
No.
Because he's battered and bruised. I would go as far as to say that he hasn't had a great WrestleMania match or even a good WrestleMania match since Triple H, the second one he did in Hell in a Cell. Because his
Punk was after that.
Was Punk? Yes, Punk was after that. So maybe
Punk
it was the CM
good.
Punk one then.
Yes.
I was because I thought after that it was the Bray Wyatt one wasn't very good. The Brock Lesnar one wasn't very good because he got the concussion. The Shane McMahon one was very much just smoke and mirrors. The Roman match wasn't very good. So maybe he has said to Vince, "Look, man, I can't go. I can't do this anymore." So now
I got a good send off. Let me retire.
I did my sexy striptease. I fell through the stage. Let's just let's leave it at that. And now they've got to go, okay, well, what's plan B then? Maybe plan B is this Rey Mysterio match. Or, as some have actually said, that, because they were teasing, I almost want to say, remember they put up that video for the AJ Styles Rey Mysterio match on I think it was at WWE's Twitter page. They put up like a hype video for like
who would be into this. It was like a 2K Games thing. Yeah.
Oh, was it a 2K Games?
Oh no,
thing?
actually no. It was like a promo that someone had edited together.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a WWE thing.
It was a WWE thing. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm mistaken.
But so there are some people now. I've had a few people say this to me on Twitter that maybe Cena's going to win at Fastlane, and it's going to be Cena Nakamura at WrestleMania, and they'll do AJ Ray at WrestleMania.
Oh, that would troll everyone.
Wouldn't it? Well, I mean,
but those like, I would be sad that we're not getting AJ and Nakamura at WrestleMania. But those are not bad matches in the slightest. Nakamura beating a 17-time world champion John Cena.
But it also means
that's good.
Cena's last 2 title reigns have been about 2 months each. Well, been about a month each, rather.
Yeah. And Rey versus AJ, they had that fantastic match. Well, they've had a few, haven't they?
They have, yeah. Yeah, my cousin went to one a few years ago when they did a show in Reading, and she said it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so it's all a weird one. I think it's going to be Cena versus Undertaker.
If Taker can go, yeah.
And I don't think now's the time to bring Rey Mysterio back. I would bring Rey Mysterio's comeback is like either a Tuesday or Monday after Mania thing for me. That's the Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Not 5 weeks out from your biggest show of the year when you then have to throw something together.
I said the same thing about Bobby Lashley because someone asked me if Lashley was going to debut before WrestleMania. I said I would do that on the Raw after Mania and save it for that. Maybe he's going to be Roman's first opponent as Universal Champion, maybe.
Or Brock, but he's not staying. It's mailbag time. Just imagine Michael Cole said that in his boss time voice.
Yeah.
You've probably already punched your fist through the monitor. So these are from now Patreon is open to all.
We've opened the floodgates.
Yeah, so anyone can submit a question on Patreon, of course, if you've got a pledge on Patreon first, and we shall answer them. Also,
we'll try and answer.
Yeah, we'll try and answer.
Can't answer every single person's question, but we try to get as many as we can.
We're trying to get the most we can, and stuff on the podcast intro and outro. We'll occasionally put a few questions in there as well. Also, for all the people like. If it was last week or the week before, some people were concerned about the length of the shows because it was just a week where we recorded 2 episodes back to back and there wasn't a great deal to talk about in things. So I think the shows ended up being half an hour and 40 minutes long. And because that was the same week that we quite heavily pushed the Patreon page, a lot of people put those two things together and falsely came to the conclusion of, well, now we're going to have to pay for all the content. We can assure you that's not the case. The WrestleRambles are always going to be the same. Well, we can't say there's no set length for the WrestleRamble episodes. It's dependent on what we can talk about and what's in the news. So yeah.
Yeah, we try and keep it as open as possible. Obviously, last week as well, when we did have the shorter episodes, that was hampered by you putting the time limit on the quick fire round, and that really really hurts the length. But we are trying to give you as much content as we possibly can. So let's dive into the mailbag. First up from David McKenzie, who actually he sent this question in a couple of times on the quickfire round, but we never got to them. Now, it wasn't down to your time constraints. Sometimes we managed to never get to them. But he writes, do you think NXT needs a mid-card title, or does the UK title serve that purpose? If it was me, I would bring back the TV title and broadcast every title defense live on Facebook Watch, stealing an idea that Progress do as they broadcast a match every show on Facebook.
So when I read the first part of this question, I was like, I like the way NXT falls together. I like the amount of championship matches and just number one contendership or blood feud matches they have on a takeover.
Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, you've got your men's, you've got your women's, and you've got your tag belts. And then you've got one Lars Sullivan match, and then you've got a blood feud match or a number one contenders. I think it's such a nice balance for a 2.5 hour long show.
Completely agree.
However, a mid-card title, a TV title that is only defended on NXT television, I think, like the UK title is, I think could be hugely beneficial, because the problem with NXT is that the week-to-week stuff sometimes does... It's not as in-get... The takeovers are the big selling point of NXT, right? Mm-hmm. And the week-to-week stuff isn't so... It is good, but it's not as...
Controversial statements
well,
over
it's just,
here. Last week's have been amazing.
Yeah, but maybe I need to watch more. The problem with the UK title is its name. So just like the European title, I remember as a kid being like, you ain't European, mate. What's the point of having these geographical locations if you're not going to stick to them? That does bear a lot of weight, and only UK guys have held it so far.
There's only been 2 guys that have held it so far, and Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne.
So, but you can't just reach out. I guess, yeah. Just keep the UK title as something that can be defended on the week-to-week stuff, and occasionally at takeovers.
I kind of like the idea of this. You broadcast a match every single week, so you're guaranteed to have a TV title match every week. But use it as a title to kind of introduce new guys onto NXT TV. So there are a lot of NXT guys and girls that don't really get TV time because they're currently in training. But this might be a good way to just get them exposure. So do it as like an open challenge thing of just like I've got the belt. I'm coming down for this week's open challenge, and it's just whoever gets the belt, then the next week they show up and lay down the open challenge, and just keep it as like even call it the open challenge title or something like that. And it's a way to debut new people, it's a way to bring new eyes in. I think that might be quite a good little gimmick.
Yeah, I guess. But it's you wouldn't be able to broadcast it live.
No, you would just do
because of the pre-taped nature.
Yeah,
of
you would just do it on just the week-to-week NXT show, but you don't put those on takeovers.
I don't necessarily know about the people who are not featured on NXT. I think NXT should just feature on the people who are ready. But the internet format. So what Culture Pro Wrestling, now Defiant Wrestling, had the internet title belt. That's the first time I've seen that done. Apologies if it's been done elsewhere. I always thought that was a pretty nifty, neat idea. Like, you've got the TV title, but you're an internet-based promotion for your broadcast. That makes sense. So yeah, I think the concept of having a social media or internet-based YouTube like live streaming on YouTube, maybe a YouTube title for NXT, but that sounds wanky. So how do you get, as soon as you put that big red play button on the title belt or a Twitter logo,
Facebook champion,
yeah, I'm just probably with emojis, just like a monkey face doing this as your NXT belt. I'm gonna hate you. So I don't know what the solution is, but there's definitely some meat in that.
There is indeed. Lorenzo Haynes writes, can you guys explain your reactions to when Kane took his mask off for the first time in 2003? And what do you think of it now? So we talked about this a little bit on the Patreon podcast for No Way Out 2004. I wasn't watching around this time, and neither were you.
Neither
correct?
were I, no.
But I did actually watch SummerSlam 2003. Which is when you had a match. I might be getting this all wrong now, but I seem to recall this. This might be a false.
This was
memory.
in real time.
This was in real time, but this might be a false memory. But I went to Reading Festival 2003, which always falls on SummerSlam weekend. So on the Sunday, you would watch the live band, and I the last band of the weekend, which I think
it's a music concert, right?
It's
a big music concert.
Big music concert.
Yeah,
I think it was Metallica, but I may be wrong. Again, I might be creating false memories here. But I do remember going back to my friend's house and watching SummerSlam 2003, because I hadn't watched wrestling for a few years. But I was like, hey, I'm just really enjoying myself here. It's 2003. I'm 18 years old. I'm going to go back. Well, actually, I was 17 years old. I'm 17 years old. I'm going to go and watch some wrestling. And I believe that was when they did the Kane Rob Van Dam match, and they did the video package where he took his mask off. And I remember thinking, I was like, wow, they actually took the mask off, being like, I want to see what this is, because Kane, when I was, getting into wrestling, what was under the mask was one of the most intriguing things in the whole world.
Yes,
because he had all these horrible burned scars underneath his face, and he's so badly disfigured that he doesn't even want to show his face. And then he takes his mask off and just looks like Uncle Fester.
Yeah, not the most attractive man, but nothing so bad that to describe him as this horrible, burnt, disfigured.
And then it was revealed that it was emotional scars, not real scars. And
is that in the kayfabe? So we've got the kayfabe history of Kane right here, Journey into Darkness. That's his backstory.
If memory serves of that book, Paul Bearer also...
have you read this?
From
cover to cover?
I've read bits and pieces of it. From what I remember, I've seen bits and pieces that I have read in there. Paul Bearer is he also works in chemicals. And he was working on a chemical...
Such a comic book Joker stuff. Chemicals Inc. That's who he works for.
And he was working on a chemical that can heal scars.
Right.
I think that's something in the book anyway. So I wonder if that's what they sort of did that as a way round it. But yeah, it was just emotional scars, and I do remember that being particularly lame. And I was never a fan of Uncle Fester Kane. What have you found in it?
I have just opened this up to a random page in Journey into Darkness, and I saw Kane's talking to a. It's not Kane at this point. He's Glenn.
He's Glenn Kane.
Glenn Kane, which is his real name, and he's talking. So a girl's come over to him. And I was definitely listening to what you were saying, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
And this is the actual meet cute. So, Gel, look, Glenn, come on, you don't remember me? He sat there shaking his head like a big dumb dog, knowing he looked stupid, knowing he ought to say something, but he couldn't think of what. So this is Kane meeting a lady.
I believe that lady is Katie Vick.
That was the reveal, man. Why did you stomp over it?
Sorry.
She knew his name. How? Why didn't you ever answer any of my letters or my mum's letters? You got 'em right. He blinked. Letters? What letters? Who sent him letters? The only letters he'd ever gotten in his whole life were from Dick Beavis. And this girl's mother was unlikely to be Dick Beavis. I was going to say that. Full name. Full name. So what was she? Oh, Glenn said in a small voice not quite his own, because suddenly he knew exactly what letters she was talking about and who she was, and felt the vacant expression on his face being replaced by what felt like the biggest smile he'd ever smiled in his whole life. Isn't that sweet?
Isn't that sweet?
I got 'em, Katie, he said, and he felt like laughing and crying all at once. Most of them, anyway. Right then, Beavis's door swung open, and a blonde woman who looked a little bit older and a little bit sadder than the last time Glenn had seen her, but who Glenn did recognise immediately, stepped through, saw him, and smiled. Well, Melissa Vick said, look at you, all grown up. Getting there, Glenn said, flirt. Getting there, Melissa laughed. You get any bigger, we're going to have to raise the ceilings in here. Oh, Mum, cut it out, Katie Vick said. That's the first time her name's referenced. I see you found each other all right. Glenn and Katie both nodded. It's a good day, praise the Lord, Melissa said. A very good day indeed. She looked at Glenn again and opened her arms wide. Well, don't just stand there, she said, to Kane. Come on over here and give me a hug.
Yeah, so if memory serves, there's Katie and
Sorry,
Kane.
I read the whole thing.
Sorry, Katie
Got too into it.
Katie and Glenn knew each other as kids, and then Kane gets into it. Kane then gets taken away or something like that, and that this is like them meeting up again as teenagers.
In the next, so there's what do you call those when there's a gap?
A paragraph.
No, but these are paragraphs when you indent the lines. What's this thing where it's like, you cut to a time lapse, sure. So the first paragraph after the time lapse is a 3-line paragraph. Dick Beavis's name in full is written out twice in three lines. Why is he like a unit? It's like when you know people just from Facebook and you know their full name. You can't separate the first name and the last name.
So you're just Ollie Davis?
Yeah, I'm just Ollie Davis. Dick Beavis. It's like Drake Maverick. So, for all those people who wanted longer episodes, look what you've created! We're just going to read this to you. We need to fill time.
We did actually consider doing that as a Patreon perk, was that we were going to read both. We're going to read Journey into Darkness and Big Apple Takedown chapter by chapter in like a My Dad Wrote a Porno style. Put the book down, we've got more questions to answer.
There's a character called Alvarez.
Is there really?
Yeah, look, Alvarez took a bite out of the giant sandwich in front of him.
That's got to be a reference.
That's got to be a reference. Dick Beavis! Twice! Dick... Haven't met him. I get good reports from the social worker, though. Dick Beavis. Oh, God. Dick Beavis. Protect me. That guy is a... Yeah, tell me about it. Alvarez gulped down another bite of his sandwich. No, his name's Glenn Calloway.
Oh, Glenn Calloway, is it? I think
Undertaker's real name is Mark Calloway.
Oh, I'm pretty sure at one point he's Glenn Kane, or is that at the start of the book?
Maybe it changes. Well,
anyway.
So I think we've just decided that the new podcast we do, which everyone wanted to be us watching indie matches, this is definitely going to feature. We're going to go through... are there many of these?
There was one other one, I think. Or it might have just been those two.
Really?
Yeah, which would be a real shame.
That is a real shame.
If it's just those two.
Wow, you got me both of them for Christmas.
You're very welcome.
Susanna came. This is just... You can open it up on any page. Who's Benjamin Franklin, Louis? Brilliant lines. So yeah, this podcast has gone off the rails.
Or more, Tori added as she raised her glass and took a sip. That's all she does in this book.
I feel like I might have, overused a few pages. So maybe it sometimes opens on the same section of Tori Wilson sipping martinis. I haven't actually answered this question.
Oh, okay, well, what do you think of Kane?
I wasn't watching it at that time.
But what do you think of Bald Kane?
So, you mentioned about having the mystery of everything behind the mask and how it was described. There are things that that seem like a good idea on paper, and you think, oh, I wish they would do this and so. I wish they would reveal Joker's origin, for instance, to use a comic book example. And it always seems like something you want. But that level of expectation and intrigue, when you finally get it, you kind of like, nah, I would have been better without it. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how I feel about Kane. I'm sure it was horrible working in that mask, but he looks so much cooler. And like you said, the imagination is allowed to run wild by what is going on underneath there. He should have hardly have spoken either.
Oh yeah, that was especially when there's later on in his career when the Undertaker becomes the American Badass. It's like 2001 time, and Kane they were together as the Brothers of Destruction. They kept having Kane just like talking to the Undertaker in backstage segments through the mask. So all of his promos were like, "You gotta get here because Diamond Dallas Page is doing something." Sorry, what was that, mate? What did you say?
It's Bane. So
nobody cared who I was.
You can imagine if Kane only ever said one line ever, and they really protected that rather than give him this awful dialogue that he gets these days.
You want to turn him into Silent Bob?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, just wrong train or whatever.
No, No Ticket.
No Ticket.
It's from
Dogma.
No. I know it's from Dogma, but the line's a reference to
I didn't
Last
know it was
Crusade.
a reference.
Yes, Last Crusade.
Ah, okay. Dogma.
When they chose him off the
Dogma.
Yeah, Dogma.
It's Dogma.
Yeah, it's from
you
Dogma.
didn't know that. Trevor Knightley. Do you want to go on to the next one?
Yeah, Corrington Brucker, I'm going to say.
Brutcher could also be.
Yeah, Corrington Brutcher said, would you have given CM Punk a WrestleMania main event match, and who should it have been against?
Can I answer this first? Because I actually did some serious... I spent about 3 minutes on this, which is way more than I spend on most WrestleTalk news scripts.
Go for it.
So cast your mind back to 2013. CM Punk was on his near record-breaking continuous reign as WWE champion, and he was booked against The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. No, did that wrong. Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
Thank you.
At Royal Rumble 2013, in the main event, no less. So the Rumble match was not the main event here, and they have this. That they have. I remember watching it live at a walkabout in Hammersmith. I went to a live viewing party, and everyone was so on CM Punk's side. He was my hero at that point, and they did a spot where the Shield powerbomb Rock through the table and Punk wins.
Yes,
and I was. The place went nuts. The place went insane, and that was the same night that Chris Jericho was number 2 in the Rumble match, coming out to Dolph Ziggler. That was a bigger pop, I guess. But this one was... I was just so happy and so drunk and so excited that they might actually change plans. And they restarted the match and Rock won. I wouldn't have changed that. So Rock has the belt. Punk's like, I was screwed. So he's a heel. He can use that as motivation. He gets the title defense at Elimination Chamber. Elimination 20 Chamber 13. Elimination 2030 Chamber. And
got there in the end.
Yeah, and Rock beats Punk again. I would have put a screwy finish in there, maybe with Cena somehow getting involved. Because the night after that, Punk challenges Cena for Cena's title. Because Cena won the Rumble?
Yes, Cena won the Rumble, yeah.
So, I'm sorry, you've got an eyelash right here.
Oh, thanks, man.
There
I
we
thought
go.
I had something in my eye.
Yeah, Vinny Schway can make a gif of that tender moment. So Punk challenges Cena the next night on Raw after the Chamber for Cena's shot at WrestleMania, because Punk had used up his automatic rematch clause at the Chamber. And they had that fantastic match, do you remember it, when Punk brought back the pile driver?
Oh, yeah.
Really good match. Really, really good. But because Punk and Cena were electric together. And, of course, this was all building to WrestleMania 29, twice in a lifetime. Rock versus John Cena. Punk's WrestleMania main event a three-way. Punk, Cena and Rock. And the whole story was Cena getting his revenge on The Rock and winning that back. How about, imagine if Cena pins The Rock and steals that moment from Cena, and then you've got a program to run with a full-time, a full-time performer in your company who you can build up to be a genuine draw and future big star. And he was by that point already, CM Punk. And that's your big money program, Punk versus Cena, and you do the payoff the next year. That's what I would have done.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It would have been putting him, because that program, from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, Punk just kind of like falls off it, and it's a real shame because he was such a big part of it. And the only thing I would have changed from yours is that I would have had Punk retain at Royal Rumble, because
there's an argument for that too.
Because everyone was expecting Rock to win. Myself, I watched that with me and my friends watched it, and we were like, well, Rock's obviously winning this. So I think having Punk win there wouldn't have hurt The Rock, especially because it was the Shield put The Rock through the table, and there was the ruling was that if the Shield got involved, then Punk would be stripped of the title. And Vince McMahon comes down to do that, and The Rock goes like, no, we're doing this the right way, or something along those lines. And I would have preferred The Rock Punk to retain at the Royal Rumble and then lose it at Elimination Chamber, and then get his automatic rematch at WrestleMania. But because Cena's already got that match because he won the Royal Rumble, you turn that into a three-way.
I'd say that program is so good, and the star level is so insane, and the benefits of having, because you've got The Rock, who's megastar beyond wrestling, then you've got John Cena, who's the biggest thing in wrestling, and then you've got Punk, who's the one on the rise. So you've got this really nice through line of each guy putting over the other for the benefit of the company and wrestling as a business. And it doesn't really matter. I don't think it would matter which way you have people lose or retain, or maybe Punk could keep the title all the way through Mania and Rock and Cena cancel each other out for Punk to retain at Mania and carry on, because it's just such a... Those three guys would make anything work. So... Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a real shame.
There's another question there that we can't really answer because we don't have time for it. But if you want to let us ask us in the mailbag, I'm offering you up a free chance.
We're not rebooking the invasion.
Not rebooking the invasion, but who would we have had Undertaker face?
Oh yeah, because that was the brilliant Undertaker match.
Yeah. So there is that question of like, what would Undertaker's program have been for WrestleMania? But we'd have to go back and look at the card, look at the potential options.
Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was hot back then.
Yeah. Anyway, finally, from Jared Conister asked, if Roman Reigns is the next John Cena, who is the next Randy Orton? And whom? And he suggests that it should be Seth Rollins.
Oh, okay. Oh, he suggested. I thought you were going to read out my suggestion.
No. That was your suggestion. He suggested it should be Seth Rollins, which is one I actually quite agree with. Is that Seth can be a motivated Randy Orton.
So I took this question a different way.
Because I love your answer, BT Dubs.
Yeah, because I hear Randy Orton, I think, just someone who looks good, who is a technically very proficient wrestler, but ultimately I'm not that excited about.
Yep.
Yeah. And I went through the entire roster and I was like, who can fill this spot? And yeah, the only guy I can come up with is Drew McIntyre. And that makes it sound like I'm down on Drew McIntyre, but not at all. I think he could be a better version of Randy Orton, because I would care about most of his feuds, because he can draw you in like that.
Yeah.
But yes, he's got the look, he's got the wrestling acumen inside the ring. I think,
And he's a big old dude as well.
Big dude.
Big dude. I've just remembered we've got one last question here from Nicholas Ravioli. A long question, bear with us. I was wondering, do you think we might be living in the greatest period of tag team wrestling in history? While WWE has been stale lately with Seth Rollins' eternal quest to defeat the Bar, I can tell when he sent this email and we've only just got to it. I think that if you consider all of the amazing tag team talent they have with the Usos, the New Day, the Bar and some others, and include the absolute amazing tag team wrestling that's been happening in the Indies with the Young Bucks, Roppongi 3K, and the reuniting Golden Lovers, I feel as though we're at least one of the greatest periods for tag team wrestling at the moment. So what do you think?
This is there is certainly a lot of talent in the tag divisions across all of wrestling, and that's not even mentioning independent promotions like what are they called? CCK and Progress.
Yes,
and,
yeah, stuff
and,
like that.
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So
CCK are awesome.
yeah,
as well.
so and a lot of the teams in New Japan as well. Although I guess you got Bucks and Roppongi 3K.
And NXT. NXT has got a stacked tag team
Revival.
roster. Revival, Street Profits, Authors of Pain, TM61, Heavy Machinery. There's some really great teams in there.
And so in terms of talent, I think it's pretty damn impressive, like what we've got at the moment. But I don't think that talent is being used to the best of its ability. I wouldn't say any of those promotions is knocking it out the park with their tag division. And I was trying to think, like, what's my favourite era of tag wrestling? And of course, you've got Dudley's, Edge and Christian, and Hardy Boys from back in the day. But, you know, that was only like a 3-thing feud. It's not like WCW was hot at the time. And my mind went to late noughties / early teens Ring of Honor. Briscoes. World's Greatest Tag Team, which is Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, when they were freaking on fire. The Kings of Wrestling, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, who's now Cesaro, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. I was just transfixed by that tag scene. There was occasionally Steen and El Generico, who of course are Owens and Sami Zayn now as well. So yeah, my personal favourite fleshed out tag division is that era of Ring of Honor. But you know, I didn't watch stuff when the Rockers or the Midnight Express, and I'm sure 80s tag wrestling relative to the time was much better actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always go to the that 2000 era of WWF when you had the Dudleys, Edge Christian, the Hardys, but you also had the Harleys, Right to Center. You had all these other
APA.
APA. Yeah, you had all these other teams in there as well. Even X Factor, X-Pac, and Just Incredible with Albert on the outside.
What was the X-Pac and Kane tag team
They were
called?
just called X-Pac and Kane.
Oh, okay.
That was in like '98 when they were tag champs. That was also when Kane first spoke.
Was it?
Yeah, he had the voice box thing. And he would go, "Suck it!" Yeah. And then, that's when he used to threaten to set himself on fire if he lost.
Well, that's all we've got time for in this episode, so please click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk news and WrestleRamble. Subscribe to this channel and please do pledge on Patreon. This is Luke Owen, I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.